Greetings, Internet! Welcome to episode number 193 of the Comic Watchers Show. I'm your host, Matt. This is my co-host, Chad. And this week, we are talking with Tony Gregori about his new ZOOP project, PORKCHOP Robot Killer. Yes, you heard that right. I'm going to say it again because it's just that awesome. PORKCHOP Robot Killer. Tony, how the heck are you, man?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much. Chad, how's New York right now?
Rainy and humid.
Okay. Optimal camping weather, which is where you're going. You're disappearing this weekend. So,
where in New York? Albany.
Albany. Matt, where are you based?
I'm in Oklahoma City.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
How about you? Montana. Where are you coming to us from?
Missoula, Montana.
Nice. Okay. So, it gets very cold there in the winter.
It does.
The thing that happens.
But, it's all relative,
Sure.
It's all relative.
Have you lived up there your whole life? Are you acclimated to it properly?
I've been here for 11 years.
Oh, wow.
11 years. I'm originally from South Florida, like near Miami, like an hour north of Miami.
Oh, geez. Okay. Well,
and I've lived in San Diego and I've lived in Colorado. Yeah,
right. Okay, yeah. Dude, Colorado.
So I progressively got my way to
Montana. Like at some point in time, like you're going to be in Canada, Alaska. And then ultimately
that's the dream.
Alaska. So, PORKCHOP Robot Killer. I've seen preview pages. It's currently funding on ZOOP.
Yes,
for those of you who do not know, ZOOP is crowdfunding site that is comics specific. It is very awesome. PORKCHOP Robot Killer has 28 days left to fund, and it is just about halfway to its goal. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're feeling pretty good right now.
Yes. I always, I've done a few crowdfunding campaigns over the years, so I kind of understand the ebb and flow.
Sure.
And as long as I feel like as long as you're around halfway within the first week, you're set up pretty good.
Okay.
It just started lull.
Yeah, it's the third
day. It just started Tuesday, am I right?
Yes, sir. It's the third day. So
that's impressive. Yeah. That's real impressive, man. Congratulations on getting out of the gate hot and heavy with this thing.
Thanks. Yeah. It's just gotta keep plugging away and keep trying to beat the algorithm.
Right. It's probably a little easier when you're just I don't want to say catering to, that's not quite right, but just dealing with people that want to read comics.
Yeah.
Because you've winnowed your audience down to the purest distillation of potential donors to the book. Yeah. And
they're not scouring like they're on Kickstarter looking for something else, and they
right. It doesn't, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe ZOOP has a bunch of the weirder rules that Kickstarter has about their sharing, profit sharing, and things like that.
No. There's I don't know if I should say their deal publicly, but it's pretty cut and dry, like a split, and then they take care of like all the administrative stuff.
See, that's great.
With that. And they have another option if you want to do all the shipping yourself, if you want to do it like a Kickstarter, where you still want to find the printer, like say you have your own printer that you love to use, you just want to use that printer. You can do it that way, like it's a Kickstarter model, and there's an adjusted rate. I'm not sure what it is because I didn't do that one.
Well, Chad, somebody else recently, and they had done the Kickstarter thing. They migrated their way to ZOOP. And Chad, I'm drawing a blank on who it was. Maybe you can.
It was who was it? It wasn't
Matt Lesniewski.
No, it was the anthology with the Golden Age comic book.
Oh, yes, Stardust. Yeah, I drew a story.
Yes.
On that, so.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Me and my buddy James Asmus.
Actually,
James Asmus and his two kids, they co-wrote it with him.
Very cool.
And then I drew it and colored it. So
he was kind of breaking down the differences and the advantages of going with ZOOP just from the more of the financial aspect of it, and like you just alluded to, it's pretty cut and dry. Like they take this amount, and so it goes.
Yeah, because like I'm a full-time working artist doing like picking up freelance gigs. So there's no way I would be able to handle the administrative duties.
Right. That was the other draw, is they do all the admin stuff themselves, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because
the creative people,
creative types, we don't tend to be, by and large anyway, also be the business people.
Yeah.
So
bad at math.
Exactly. That's why I married an accountant.
Nice.
So pork chop robot killer. Let's get, what's the elevator pitch, man? I can read the synopsis all day long on ZOOP itself. TMNT Short Circuit meets Mad Max. What can people that back this project expect?
It's just a fun, vibrant book, and if you want to see a pig smash his way through some AI controlled bots and grunt and oink his way through it and have some fun and eat a lot of French fries and hang out with the robot sidekick. Yeah. If I get to do a second issue, we'll counter a giant whale, like a techno whale. But it's basically like everything you said. Mad Max in Short Circuit meets TMNT, but it's also just like just a exploration of my love for the medium, like drawing action, drawing what I want to draw, as opposed to like what's on a script or what's being dictated to me.
Sure, because you are wholly writing, drawing, inking, lettering this yourself. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
So
awesome. The whole package. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. This is the first time I've ever done something like this. So
okay,
it's kind of cool to do everything. And it's a fun little book. It started out as like a love letter to my grandfather because his nickname was PORKCHOP.
Okay.
Yeah. So originally I was going to do a biocomic about him. And he came over in 1939 with my grandmother, who was pregnant with my father at the time. Mussolini kicked them out, because it's a long story, but he either had to serve or he had to leave. So he left. And he came over and he didn't know the language, and he became a steel worker, an iron worker, and we rose up to foreman and would go all over the North End, South America with crews and working in like steel mills and whatnot. And was just a great guy. He passed away in the mid 80s. So I want to do like a biocomic about him, but then I realized like quickly that I was not able to do the level of research that would do him justice as far as like telling his story, either because people had passed or family I wasn't in contact with anymore, so I was like, I shouldn't do that, but I still want to do this book about a pork chop for my grandfather. What can I do? And at the time I was doodling all these like robots, like piecemeal robots in my sketchbook. I'm like a laundromat. I take a washer and dryer and add like some car wheels to it, and then add some things for arms, just killing time, And then the idea came into like, what if I tied these ideas together? And first it was going to be a guy like scouring this wasteland, this like AI bot-ridden wasteland. But I was like, that's kind of boring. Who wants to watch a guy? Should be a pig because he's pork chop. And it kind of went from there.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
So we were briefly chatting before we started recording that just based on the preview pages that I've seen, I definitely picked up a Daniel Warren Johnson vibe from the art itself, in terms of the kinetic flow of both the action and the panels themselves, kind of interplaying with one another. What's your background in terms of inspiration that kind of led you to that style, and what made that the right style for this book?
This is kind of how I draw naturally. Darren Warren Johnson is amazing. Like, it's cool to even like be mentioned in the same breath as that guy because he's so good. He rocks, and he's a great guy.
Yes.
But I definitely take stuff from like people as I go along. But like, you know, doing splatter and thumbprints, you know, Sean Gordon Murphy did that before he did that. So like, I started drawing comics again around like 2004, 2005. I'm going to be 47. So I graduated high school and I was down in Miami, and I just spent years kind of, you know, getting in trouble. And then once I got my head clear and figured out what I wanted to do, I was like working in bars and whatnot. And I decided I wanted to draw comics. So I went to school and started drawing then. So I kind of like, when I was younger, it was more like Alan Davis and Mike Mignola and Frank Miller. And, you know, I was right around the 90s boom. It was right in my wheelhouse, you know. I graduated high school in 94. So like, you know, like 89 to like 94, I consumed all of it, you know. So all that stuff is in there. You know, I love Tim Sale. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
God.
And then but it's cool because that's what the art form is, right? It's cool to see other artists take on other artists, and it's like just becomes like this beautiful mismatch of styles, you know. And some are better than others, and some transcend what they're doing, and they, you know. So it's cool. But yeah. Where's I going? I'm sorry, I rambled.
Oh, you're good. You're good. We were just talking about how your art style and in your own personal inspirations and how it kind of got to where it is in PORKCHOP Robot Kill.
Yeah. Well, the thing about PORKCHOP is what was I drawing at the time? Jeez, I've drawn so many projects. So what happened was I started it and I was drawing I started drawing this book or designing this book called The Worst Dudes with Aubrey Sitterson. Yeah. So that was a Dark Horse book. So I was developing that with him, and I started doing these PORKCHOP pages, and I was like, well, what am I going to do with this? So I started doing a page a week and posting them on my Patreon. And I got to like page 12. This is around 2018, like summer of 2018. But then in October of 2018, I had a family tragedy. My father passed away. So I took time to deal with everything. And I started my Patreon, and I kind of just didn't work for like 3 months. And
sure. Well, you got to process. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you got to process everything and deal with family and everything and grief and whatnot. And he never goes away. So, but anyway, I got back to work, and I was developing Worst Dudes with Aubrey, and then I started developing Dust Pirates with Bob and Kevin Cuff, which was like a Kickstarter book that's coming to Keen Spot soon. What else was I doing? I was doing something. Starweed is another book that I was doing at that time. So PORKCHOP kind of just got like pushed down. I was drawing all these other things, and I would draw a page every once in a while. And then at 6 months ago, I look back about 6 months ago, I was looking through my files. I'm like, damn, I have like 40 some pages drawn of this book that's just sitting here. It's like, you know, not many people have seen it. So, and that was right about when ZOOP started up. And I saw the success that these other people had there, and how cool they were to like Jason Copeland, and they had Nick Pitar's book, and like you said, I think Matt Lewizinski had a book there too.
I believe so.
Right? He had an art book, I think, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, and the Paul Leon book and everything, and they just seem like really good people. So I guess that's what.
Yeah,
what got
I
us to
mean,
this point.
I've never heard anything bad about them, and
yeah.
Word tends to get around the internet campfire pretty quick when something is awry. So, yeah.
And Jordan is pretty cool about setting things up at the last minute.
Yeah.
They're so thorough, man. I love that. They're like, hey, you want to do this and that? I'm like, yeah, I would love to.
And then have them canceled at the last minute.
I would never do that to you. So.
No, we did it to you last week.
Yeah.
Oh, was that last week? I don't remember.
That was last week.
It was
okay, my bad. That's okay.
Yeah.
I take it as it comes, you know.
Well,
between, like drawing books every day and like doing all this stuff and like doing like usually I've done other crowdfunding campaigns where I work with a writer, so there's another person handling half the load of marketing and stuff, like being online. So it's all technically just me really and Zoop. So like my mind's so like swirling right now. The idea I totally forgot about last week. My bad.
Well,
So
if it makes, I don't know if this will make you feel better or worse, but I literally don't remember what happened that caused us to have to cancel. So that messed me.
It didn't happen.
Fault.
Sorry, I got this dog on my lap.
Aw. Well, an actual lap dog. I have an 80-pound dog that thinks it's a lap dog.
She's a 15-pound dog, and she's 15-pound dog. She thinks she's 80. So.
Is this the first thing you've written? And you know, how was it? Not really transitioning from just doing the art to also having to come up with the story and the dialogue and.
Well, coming up with the story it's kind of what we do as artists. So like I think lots of times when you look at comic books, like the sequential, the line artist, sequential artist is doing like 75% of the narrative and the storytelling, to be honest. Like the writers do a great job, but like honestly, like an artist can turn like 5 words on a paper into like a whole page of art. Like this has to happen on this page, and then the artist can just go crazy. So like that's how I kind of wrote it. I was like, okay, on this page, PORKCHOP needs to end up here, and this is the page turn, and these are the beats on the page. So I mean, I don't write it like a full script. So it's kind of easy actually. It's more like just coming up with the idea what needs to happen in this issue, and I just kind of reverse engineer it from there. Like where do I want to end up? Where am I starting off, and then where am I want to end up, and then bring myself there and try to find the emotional beats. And I think like if you do this for long enough, so if you do sequential art, you kind of can pick up on like just your pace and how you're working, and if you need to slow things down and bring the reader in, or have a big explosion, get your attention, like so.
Well, and we had mentioned in another recent interview that you can generally tell when you're reading something by a writer who is also an artist, regardless of whether they're drawing it, their own script, because there's such a higher focus on that visual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Lemire, right? Or Matt Kent.
Yes.
There's such a higher focus on the visual aspect and how that translates to those emotional beats that you were just talking about. I mean, how comfortable are you with that at this point in your career?
I mean, I prefer show don't tell. I prefer that if I'm watching a movie or if I'm reading a comic.
Mm-hmm.
Like this comic was, I was going to try to keep it as silent as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
So the pig speaks in like 1 or 2 or 3 word sentences. He has a limited vocabulary, like me, But the most like verbose and eloquent characters are the robots. The robots all speak in like either some sort of like binary code or just straight up speak, but like in a robotic tone, like you would stereotypical robot talk. Except for the one robot, which is PORKCHOP's sidekick, Doug, which you meet in issue 1. But on all the dialogue from the robots is hand drawn, so that's one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at it. And all the PORKCHOP stuff, I just kind of write as I'm writing it. I write it after I draw it. I write in the dialogue for him. I just know what like he's going to say this here, and
okay,
what have you. And then I was just going digitally as I'm coloring it,
having it all in your head.
yeah. Well, and I write it down, traditionally on like a notepad. I'm like,
So let's
really rudimentary,
right. Let's zoom out a little bit. Because we talked a lot about this project, but I don't think we've actually talked about what the plot is. We've got a pig, and we've got a post-apocalypse, and we've got robots.
Yes.
And
you get dropped into this
world. What more do we need to know about this?
Well, I mean, it gets revealed as it goes. I don't, I'm not gonna explain. It's not gonna explain what happened and how we got here. That's not gonna happen in this book.
Okay.
I don't even know if that's really important.
Right. It doesn't have to.
I mean, it doesn't have to be unless it's part of some larger plot. But like, yeah, maybe he's a genetically engineered pig through like factory farming or something. Leave that up to you to imagine how this happened. It's like Planet of the Apes.
He escaped the animal farm.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so he lives in this world, and he hates the fact that these AI bots are destroying all the green. So like everywhere they pop up, they eat up like cancer. So, and he loves green, he loves water, he loves potatoes, he loves rolling around in grass, pig stuff that he wants to do, like mud. It doesn't rain anymore. He's just angry at this whole situation. So he's lashing out at these robots every time he sees them until I don't want to say because that's the story.
Sure.
It's kind of his growth as a pig. He grows. He goes through an arc for sure. There's an arc to this pig.
And that's a lot. That's a lot to squeeze into. Was it 32, 33 pages for this?
This is the first issue. This is the first issue. I have it written out. The whole thing scripted at 4 issues, but I could probably, I could squeeze it to 3 if I had to, but I wouldn't want to do that. Like
sure,
4 is like the perfect length for it.
Do it right.
And if they're all 32 pages long, I definitely that would be a great ending. So yeah, and as you go, you meet other anthropomorphic characters. You meet one at the end of the first issue. And that character plays into the larger plot, because how can I say this? That character draws him deeper into the fray, so to speak.
Okay.
So right now he's just kind of hanging out doing his thing. He has this he has this little like oasis tucked away, where he's got like a little farm that him and his robot sidekick have cultivated, like a potato farm from The Martian.
Nice.
And he has a fryer set up, and he's eating fries, and he's got a lagoon that he can go swimming in, and he has a little adventure in the lagoon in the first issue. And then you kind of introduce you to his world. And he's kind of like, when you're feeling content, but like maybe you shouldn't be. You know what I mean? But he's like fighting the fight, but he's also chilling,
Yeah.
Yeah, he could be doing more, that sort of a thing.
Could be doing more.
So just on a production side of things, how long does it take you to put an issue together? Like that when this issue's done, or excuse me, when this campaign is done and the issues are going out, I mean, theoretically speaking, could you start the campaign for issue 2 and with relative haste in order to maintain interest?
It depends on what we're able to raise.
Sure.
Because money is time, right? So if we hit the goal, then yeah, I can probably take a month off to finish the rest of issue 2 and get that going. And then I could probably just be coloring, because I'm coloring issue 1 right now as we speak. So I'm on like page 10, I think. It's a 32-page book. So it's coming along. It should be done by the end of this month. I should be done coloring it. And it'll be ready to go. Excuse me. But, I'm also working on a graphic novel, 120-page graphic novel. I've drawn like 93 pages of that. I'm drawing another project where it's a horror comic that hasn't come out yet. And
is it something that you're allowed to talk about? Or is it
not
top
yet?
secret?
It's just
not yet.
It's not top secret, but it's like kind of I can't tell you where to find it, so it's kind of
okay. Is it okay? How about this? Without naming names, is this your baby, or are you working with somebody else?
I'm working with somebody else on both the graphic novel and the other horror book, and also have other things that I'm working on other things as well. With other people. I always have a couple projects, different stages of development. Like one at pitch level, one at development, one at and then after, if you're doing this for long enough, and you pick up doing all these projects, they all just kind of like blossom at their own pace. Like PORKCHOP is right now, and then the Worst Dudes popped up. Worst Dudes, we got rejected by every publisher, and then Dark Horse came back and picked it up. So we had buried it and put it behind us, and then got an email out of the blue. Hey, you want to do this still? I'm like, yeah, sure. But so it's kind of like I've learned that, just as long as I have a bunch of like irons in the fire, because you never know what's going to be. Sure. Your next gig.
Like, and for what it's worth, The Worst Dudes was great. I loved that miniseries. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Man. Chad, man, I've been monopolizing the side of the conversation. Why don't you jump in?
I was just going to ask if do you like work digitally? Doing the art, or do you use?
I'm traditional. I do.
Okay, traditional. Okay.
But I color digitally. I use Krita, which is a Linux open source program. It's pretty good. I like it. That's some good brushes.
How long does it take you to say do a page? Depending on what's on the page and what you want to get out onto that page. What's the average time? I guess I'm trying to say.
For pencils and inks?
Sure. From start to completion.
I probably, depending on the level of detail on what's on the page, like anywhere from probably 3 to 6 hours, depending. Some pages there's like talking heads, and those pages take a lot less time than say like a gigantic battle scene. There's like objects flying and vehicles. Those could take 2 days. You just never know. I stopped. I used to like keep track of it. Like, oh, this is how much I'm making an hour, and then it drove me crazy. So I'm like,
yeah.
Sorry, can I cuss on this?
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
It's all good. At least you asked.
Yeah, I just slipped out. I was trying not to. I was like, you never know.
No, you're okay. You're all right. So, what?
So,
go ahead, Chad.
So picking kind of a step further back, what do you remember? Maybe the first comic book that you read, or kind of.
Oh yeah.
It made you think, I want to do this for a living.
Yeah, I mean, a couple stand out. Like I'm looking up because I'm on my wall framed a Batman comic. It's Batman number 513, Detective Comics, and Detective Comics 356, and they're from like the 80s, I think. And those stuck out to me. And like one of them, the cover is it's Hugo Strange dressed as Batman fighting Batman, but it's reflected in Hugo Strange's goggles. Like when I was a kid, it just grabbed me. Like, why is Batman fighting Batman? And who's this guy with these goggles? It was just like my imagination. And then the other cover was Batman was captured by Two-Face, and Two-Face like imprisoned him in a glass case, and Batman used his abilities, his ingenuity, to create a mask, like a fake mask out of like piping and steam. He broke for some reason there was a pipe in the prison that he was able to break open, that steam came out, and he molded this thing to look like a half of a Two-Face. And then Two-Face came to the window to see him, and he saw Batman's face through the smoke, and he was disfigured, and it triggered his PTSD of his accident, and he opened the door for Batman. So Batman used his own trauma against him to like defeat him, and then Batman comes
Batman.
out. Oh, Batman. And then you remember the Empire Strikes Back? They had a Treasury edition. It was like a double size, or the Treasury size edition.
Yes.
Of that book. I think it was like from 81 or something. I must have been like 5 or 6, and I had that thing, and I tore it to shit. Like I took it everywhere with me, like because I could not get enough of Empire Strikes Back. Like that movie.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
If you're gonna get obsessed with a movie, I mean, you can do far, far worse.
Yeah. So I have to say that book for sure. And then I read comics. I would go back then. We had print stores, so every Sunday I would go with my dad, and Sunday morning he'd go get a coffee and a newspaper, and I would be able to he'd let me buy 1 or 2 comics, and then we go to my grandparents' house, and I'd read my comics, and we hang out by like the beach and stuff. That was like a memory of mine, And I still have all those books. They're old Batman and the Outsiders and Power Pack, and like the X-Men you have behind you, like the old school X-Men.
Oh
yeah, that stuff, all that, Then I
I
read Frank Miller's Ronin, and Frank Miller's Ronin broke my brain, I think, when I was a little kid. It made me realize what comics could be like.
Yes. That book was so far ahead of its time.
Good night, buddy.
In terms of execution. And like you read it today and you can still appreciate that, even though there's some narrative elements to it that are a little of their time, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean,
and Frank Miller, so it's
it's peak era Frank Miller, pushing himself, pushing the boundaries of what
artistically too. Like he was bringing European styles into it, and like all this line work that
for my money, just I think Ronin is hands down his best artwork of his entire career. I
would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, then Dark Knight. And then Dark Knight Returns.
Sure.
I have friends who love Dark Knight Strikes Back, or whatever the sequel is, DK3.
I've met a couple of people that are like, oh, you just got to understand what Frank is doing. It's a satire. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it is, but A, it still sucks. And B, the art looks like he drew it with his toes. And C, it's not a very funny satire.
There goes that Frank Miller interview.
I don't know that we were ever going to get that.
You never know.
Well, we did talk to Dan Didio about Frank Miller Inc.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that might be as close as we get to touching the hem of Frank's cape or his fedora, whichever you prefer.
He might wear a cape.
Yeah.
I could see him wearing a cape.
He might. So, Tony, we've got. So I'm looking at PORKCHOP, and like I said at the beginning, you just launched 3 days ago.
Yep.
You've got 28 days to go. You're already almost halfway to your goal. I mean, that's awesome. You said you've done other crowdfunding projects in the past.
Yes.
And I mean, how's it feel? Like, do you feel like you've got a pretty decent measure of success right now for this project? And again, it's only 3 days out of the gate. A lot could change. The internet is a fickle master, but I mean, just comparing this to like your past crowdfunding experiences, how are you feeling right now?
Well, this is like a more modest goal than the last couple ones I've been a part of. So it feels like, it's a crowdfunding campaign. You always feel a little stressed. Sure. I'm definitely checking it like every hour or so to see where it's at, But like also I understand the ebbs and flows of it, and I know that like say that there'll be like 3 days, 4 days, 5 days where you're not going to get one pledge or what have you. So it's just kind of like working through that and just going on to like the end of the campaign or towards the end. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I would like to be halfway funded by now, but like, it is what it is. Like you said, it's a fickle internet. Like it's so fractured. Like I have to go post on Blue Sky, I have to go post on Twitter, and I got to do an Instagram post, and then it's like maybe I should post on a Tumblr, and it's like, geez, and I got to color the book. So it's like,
don't forget Threads.
I'm not on Threads. I won't. I heard that the only way to get off Threads is by deleting your Instagram. So that scared me off of doing that. So.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. For like 5 minutes, everyone was talking about Threads, and then when you just now brought it up, I had to stop and think about what the hell it is. So maybe it's not the Twitter killer we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no, the Twitter killer is Elon. He's the Twitter killer.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think as far as the campaign goes, we'll have some nice little goodies to share, like to get attention back on the campaign. My friends Ramon Villalobos and Brian Level are doing variants.
Oh, nice.
And, and then Ramon will have some art to share of that within like next week or so of his cover, his variant.
Very cool.
Yeah, and there's, I think that you'll have like a period where you feel like, oh, it's not going anywhere, and then like someone will just pick up a $200 commission, and then like on a $3,000 goal, a $200 commission is like, it's a big chunk, So it's
right.
For me, it's like, you guys got to be grateful for all of it, I'm great. I don't care. Like, there's 30 supporters of the book. Damn, 30 people want to read this. Like my little silly little pig comic. Like, that's beautiful. Hey,
that's pretty rad, though. And we kind of feel the same way, like with our podcast or running our site, because we are the smaller guys out there. But when 30 people want to read a review that you wrote where you really put your heart into it, I mean, that does mean something, at least on a personal level. So
for sure. It doesn't, like, I see artists, like, just speaking from what I do, it's like I'll see artists who like maybe I don't like their art and they're getting gigs that I feel like I should get, and then like, and I'll think like, yeah, but they went for that gig, like I didn't go for that gig, so I can't be mad that I didn't get something I didn't go for, like, yeah,
for sure.
And so when it comes to like success of like a Kickstarter campaign or a ZOOP campaign, it's like I can only just make the book and make it the best I can and just try to get the word out. And then, if it hits the goal, barely hits the goal, if we squeak in over the finish line, like crawling, we make it. As long as we make it to the finish line, that's all that matters.
Yeah, most definitely. So I was just kind of scrolling through your professional credits, and I see you've done work for Vault, and of course the Worst Dudes was at Dark Horse and IDW, and then like we know these are known quantities, and then I'm looking, and there's a comic called Starweed.
Yes.
And I say, wow, this appears self-published.
Yeah, so Alex Wilson is the writer.
Okay.
Alex Wilson, Claudia Aguirre is the colorist, and I'm the artist. And my buddy Lauren Norby is the letterer. And it is about Starweed. I got to think of what was the pitch I used for that one.
The word weed in the title.
There's weed, yeah. So in the future, people smoke the ashes of dead celebrities. So this lead character, she's basically like a grave robber, like a corpse thief named Diggs. And she goes around trying to steal corpses to foster to get the DNA from. And so it opens up there in Red Square in the future, and she's trying to steal Lennon from his tomb. So that's how the story starts.
That's awesome.
Not Keith Richards, or is he still alive?
No, he's not still. I don't think he's still. I think he's in. I gotta think because it's been a while. He might be referenced in that book because there's a period where they go to like a farm. And they go to a corpse farm. So what I don't want to say it. You got to read it. But basically, what happens is they discover a cloning operation. So people are cloning all these dead celebrities too. So like at one point, this Diggs sidekick becomes a naked Clark Gable who's just like with her all the time.
That's awesome. Do you find that you tend to get drawn to these very outside of the box projects like Starweed or PORKCHOP?
Stardust even.
Stardust, yeah.
And Stardust, right.
Yeah, I think so.
Those speak more to you as a creator.
Well, I think it probably lends my style to that, but also like I've done other things. Like I did Lovecraft. I did a Lovecraftian book called the Malediction of Maxwell Fitzsimmons with my buddy David Crispino. I guess that's a little weird too, but it was like I was drawing period piece like architecture and stuff like that. So
okay.
I've worked on all these different projects. I've drawn wrestling books. I drew a wrestling comic for El Rey for Lucha Underground. That was cool. Like I've done a lot of different stuff. So I do think though, yeah, I think people for some reason or other, I kind of got like, not to say pigeonhole because that gives it a negative connotation. I just got known for drawing weird stuff, like you said.
Hey, I mean, look, if you've got a niche, you should definitely
mine it.
Be that guy. Yeah. Lean into it, man. There's a ton of people out there that can draw meat and potatoes superhero book, and it looks fine. But only a handful of people can pull off PORKCHOP Robot Killer.
It's definitely a different art form. Different skill set. I think it started off. I drew this book called Karma Police, which we crowdfunded in 2013 or 14, and it became one of Vault's initial launch books. They got the rights and they published it. The writer's name's Chris Lewis, and that was like a neat, like a kitsch Buddhist book, like about like this monastery in Beverly Hills who like fights like supernatural karma demons, but they're based in Beverly Hills, and then it's like kind of like like pulp noir detective, but they're Buddhist monks, but it's trippy and weird, and they go to like this other dimension. And that was like I think one of the first series I did that got published. I think that maybe like attracted people to my work, and for one reason or the other, it just kind of like started that. Like
that's awesome, dude.
An explanation of
that. Chad, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask Tony?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. So can you kind of walk us through like the different levels of donations, for people to support the project?
Yeah, let me. I gotta get my phone because I need to look at it. I know you can get the book for $8, and you get the two variants for $9. There's a tier. There's a print tier where you can choose 3 prints. They're 11 by 17. You get 3 prints in the book for $35. Actually, the variants are $10. My bad. The physical copy is $9. Sorry.
That's very, that's great. That's very,
32 page, $9. That's a pretty good deal.
yeah. It's,
Yeah. You can get all 3 covers for 27. And then we have commission tiers. There's 100, 150. I'll do a 9x12 black and white commission for 100, or I'll color it and give you a digital file for 150. And then the same with 11x17s, where it's 250 and 350. And I have some examples there. And if you look at my social media, I'm always posting artwork and examples of the commissions that I've done. I've done commissions that people use for variant covers. I've, done commissions that people have used for prints and books, or just hang on their walls, or, I'll draw anything within reason. And then there's original pages. A couple of original pages have got scooped up, but there's still some left. There's like 4 or 5 left, maybe 6 left, actually. So,
now, have you been, or do you are you on the convention scene, I guess is what I'm trying to say?
No, I haven't been to convention since 2018. I went to Emerald City. I was supposed to go. I was tabling at Emerald City in 2020 with my buddy Matt Miner, and COVID hit, and that didn't happen. And ever since then, I've applied for Emerald City. I live in Missoula, so it's like, for me, it's a lot easier to get to Seattle and Portland. So Rose City, Emerald City, I would try to do those back in the day in the before times.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since then, I've got rejected by Emerald City twice. So I just stopped trying. And then Rose City, I can go, but it's just like, it's like cost effective. It's like, am I gonna make my money back, or am I gonna is it a vacation, which is cool. I love Portland, but I gotta financially figure out if it works for me. So it hasn't yet. But as far as going to other places, I live in Missoula. It's really expensive to fly out of here. So for me, it's like, it doesn't, unless someone's paying for my table, or to be blunt and honest.
Yeah.
Unless someone's gonna pay for my table, at the very least, it's like, to pay $400 to $500 for a table and then pay for a flight and then pay for a hotel is just not economically feasible for me to do.
No,
I don't know how the people
understand.
do it. Yeah, I don't know how people do it. I've tabled years ago. I was at, I don't remember the artist's name, probably for the best, but me and my buddy were tabling next to this artist, and he was so miserable because he had done, I don't know how many cons in a row, and he must have been on his 6th in months, 3 months or whatever. And he was so angry, and he did not want to be there. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, that is, if you make your money doing that, that's got to be hell to have to go do that every couple months. That was a big enough name though, and if I knew if I go there I was going to get a bunch of commissions and what have you.
Right.
I was going to say, you could be I won't name names, but a very famous Iron Man artist who charges $10,000 to come out to a con. Yeah. Yeah. True story. Yeah, we got a local con here in Oklahoma City called New World Con that's put on by the LCS. That's kind of like the Grand Poobah. They've been around for 40 plus years now, and the owner, about 5-6 years ago, started doing this con, and it's steadily grown, and it's grown in enough of a cash that he can start reaching out to real professionals. And this particular artist told him $10,000 plus I want some walking around money.
Oh, per diem too? Wow.
Yeah, and wow. Considering you haven't worked in 20 years at least, come on, bro.
I mean, somebody's giving it to him if he's asking for it, though. So,
oh, absolutely.
I
mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you got to ask. I mean, did he come out anyway or no?
No.
No.
They weren't paying $10,000.
Hey, for me, all you'd have to do is pay for my plane ticket and my table, and I'd be there.
Right.
The $10,000. Yes, the dual killer was the walking around money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he needs to get a chicken sandwich.
We've got more to do in Oklahoma City than we used to. Downside used to just be prostitutes and warehouses. So
now you got the Thunder, and
we got the Thunder, and we're
SGA, and
all that.
You have that. You have the. That's where the bombing memorial is, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
very sobering experience.
Yeah, I
there,
drove
yep.
through Oklahoma City
I'll
one
tell
time.
you, I lived here my whole life. I was in middle school when the Murrah bombing happened, and I just last year went to the memorial for the first time, and it's still haunting all these years later to see this stuff. And like if
the photo of that building,
do nothing else in Oklahoma City, go quietly traumatize yourself at this very, very powerful memorial.
I gotta tell you, I drove through Oklahoma City one time when I was moving across country and had to stay the night in a motel, like right off the highway.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't in Oklahoma City proper. I was like outside of it. And that night they decided to have a car show in the parking lot of the motel. And people were shooting guns in the air. So I had to like basically slept like near the bathroom on the floor because I was worried about ricochet bullets coming into my window. Yeah. So
we're a very 2A state, so to speak.
I live in Montana, so I get it. It's
although I guess different. Montana probably is too.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's just its own par, people open carry and stuff, and it just is like,
yeah, we've got that as well. Like, it's really unnerving. Like I've gotten more accustomed to it now, but the open carry laws just passed maybe 10 years or so ago, and for the first few years of that, you just be walking along the street and oh shit, there's somebody with a gun on their hip. Like it's
they're what do you got an AR for? Like what do you? Yeah, you got a rifle strapped to you. Like what is going on?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Missoula, which is kind of like the Austin of Montana. We're like a liberal hippie leftist town that voted for Bernie Sanders in every primary, and has the Zoe Zephyr's from here. She's my councilwoman.
Okay.
Congresswoman. She's the one who got the trans woman who got censored from the Congress. She's my.
That's right. So, oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we have marches for her, and it's a real progressive town. So like it's very like left, and kind of like the bane of the state. Like they all hate us. So it's like we're surrounded by these people.
Well, I mean, Texas has its Austin, so.
Yes, this is true, and it can exist within it, with as long as everyone has a gun.
This weird little liberal oasis in this sea of otherwise shit.
Yeah, but needless to say, there's a bunch of leftists in town who are friends of mine who have guns. So it's like it's not just the conservatives. It's like
no, definitely not.
So to bring it back to pork chop.
No,
sorry,
liberal politics.
No, that's fine. No. So you said that this project has 4 issues. If it does well, do you foresee like revisiting, or telling more stories set within that universe?
I would love it. I mean, what you're describing is like me being able to just do pork chop for years, and that would be amazing. Like, I would love to be able to just do this. That'd be great. Yeah, I would do I could expand it because the way I ended it, it ends, but then there's like more of the story to tell. But you can't. These aren't like no one expects to be like, oh, I'm going to do one of these every 2-3 months for the rest of my life. It's like no, like I'm not even halfway yet. I need to get this one to fund. So
if you did, you could charge $10,000 for a con appearance.
Absolutely,
I fucking would. You better believe I would if I could. I'm not even judging that artist. Hey, you get it. You get it. Get it. I take it.
Just don't ask for walking around money.
Yeah. I need to get a slice or two. I need some pocket change. Just a 20 spot. Cash though.
And hey, not for nothing, but we've got a lot of Indian casinos around here too. Oof. So if gambling's your thing.
I don't gamble, no.
I don't either. I'm terrible at it. And I've been broke most of my life.
Yeah.
So I just don't really like the idea of potentially
being broker
away.
Yeah. Giving your money away that you work hard for.
Yeah. It's really a weird concept to me. So
I guess I did some sports gambling back in the day, but I was like a 20-year-old, I'd bet on the Dolphins, and of course that was stupid because it's the Dolphins. And
well, when you were 20, didn't they have they probably had Marino, didn't they?
Well, I definitely saw Marino.
Okay.
I don't get turned to sports chat, but I had season tickets with my dad from '89 to Wanstead's last year as coach. was our final year.
Oh, wow.
With tickets. So we had him for a while. And Marino was 84. I was an 8-year-old Greek Italian kid. Marino was right in my wheelhouse. Like, at the time I had a mullet with the flowing brown hair, and he had a mullet with the flowing brown hair, and he was Italian. This is my hero. This is my my Roman god.
That's
my
awesome.
Caesar. So yeah, I saw Marino, and then, but I think by then though, like, yeah, it was like Jay Fiedler and like Ricky Williams was on the team, probably. So it was a good squad, but never like great.
Sometimes good is entertaining enough, because when you're great, you've got a target on your back.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a piece of your ass.
Yeah, that's like the Heat. I'm a huge Heat fan.
Yes.
And we had the big three. The big three was like everyone hated us, and we're supposed to win. If we didn't win, it was the end of the world.
Yes.
And if we did win, we were supposed to win anyway, so no one made a big deal. It wasn't like.
Yeah.
It was more like a relief that you didn't lose. So like after a while, after 4 years of that, it was just like, yeah, when they broke up, it was like, finally, like I can watch the game and not like
feel like
feel like
the world is on self-destruct.
Yeah, if we lose, it's still fun to watch. But then again, if you have no success, if you're a fan of a team that's never won, it feels like just like a bane, like just a huge monkey on your back.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's something you can't control, so it's so silly.
Well, bear in mind the Thunder's first season here, they only won like 22 games. So,
yeah.
we got a taste of that out of the gate.
Yeah.
But, the Supersonics had sucked. And Seattle just didn't want to support them for whatever, anymore. So, they're still bitter.
Yeah.
I love my Seattle peeps.
I love Seattle. If they had a team, that would be great, because I could go to games.
Oh, there you go.
Go to Seattle for a weekend and catch a game. That'd be fun.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we are about out of time. Tony, thank you for hanging out with us and talking about PORKCHOP Robot Killer, now funding on ZOOP. Peeps,
thanks for having me.
Should absolutely do this and support the campaign, because it's not often that you get to see a pig taking on robots, and it just being the funnest, coolest thing you've ever looked at.
And you can follow updates on the project if you're not checking out ZOOP, which I don't know why you're not, but we'll be following it on our crowdfunder corner too.
Yes, which is
every Saturday.
Every Saturday, noon Eastern, crowdfunder corner comes out, so keep an eye on it there.
Crowdfunder corner, cool. Thank you.
Tony,
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We are the Comic Watchers, and this is our show. We will return with another episode.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you, Chad, scheduling.
Steve Fox.
That's right. The one and only Steve Fox. He's going to talk about probably some X-Men stuff with us, I think. So be there for that. Thank you.
It might be dark.
It might be dark. Yeah. My typical send off. The world can be a crappy place, but it doesn't have to. Get out there. Read something cool. Support your local comic shop. Support a project on ZOOP. And above all, just be good to each other. Thank you. This is the Comic Watchers Show. The site is comic-watch.com. And until next time, I'm Matt. This is Chad.